Hi, we are the Scholar Squad, and we work on the Google Assistant language learning application and its potential features. Google Assistant is a official intelligence-powered virtual assistant that is available on both mobile and smart home devices. In addition, Google Assistant can support interpretation mode, link to third-party applications, and other features in both verbal and writing formats. The target group of the product is between 18 to 60 years old and will use Google Assistant at least once a week. And in addition to these basic requirements, our project means target user group is also required to have plans to learn a new language. Our team creates 3 different personas and scenarios to better empathize with our users and understand their goals and environment. These artifacts allowed us to determine users' requirements and define the language learning user flow and as the complete their goals. The first method that our group was interaction map. This method allowed us to generate static repetitions of the Google Assistant system that helped us to understand all the possible actions within the application. And we processed to analyze our interview findings by creating a affinity wall and organize them into logical groupings. Through multiple interactions, we refine our groupings to determine important pain points and overall themes that we identified in our user interviews.
So after interviews, we went through a few more methods, including surveys, comparative evaluation, heuristic evaluation, and usability tests. We went through so many methods to get a holistic view on what the language learning application could have and what we think it already has and how it could skyrocket from there. From these methods, we developed a few key insights that we will go through next.
All right, so first up is the survey and interview findings and recommendations. So we found that users like to learn through a conversational learning format, having a rewarding system to keep them interested, and would prefer to learn interesting topics that are relevant to their interests or goals, not just basic and boring vocabulary. To address these issues, we recommend that Assistant offers dialogue practice to help users learn conversational speaking, adding a reward such as in-app currency or digital certification to keep them interested, and tying in the cultural background of the language to make the learning topics more interesting and relevant. Also, by keeping track of the user's progress and letting them start up where they left off, users can have a coherent learning experience even with those short lessons. Next are the findings and recommendations from our comparative evaluation. We found that pronunciation is an important part of language learning, but competitors do not cover it very well. Users also like gamification to keep them motivated, and different users have different goals when learning a language. We recommend that Assistant incorporate pronunciation as it is a place for Assistant to differentiate itself as it has advanced speech capabilities. We also recommend using gamification techniques such as interactive quizzes and games to keep users interested, and believe that there should be different types of learning content to meet different learning needs. This can mean content for specific use cases such as traveling or becoming fluent in the language for work. Next, finding and recommendations for our heuristic evaluation. We found that Assistant does not support all languages and dialect choices, that the history is difficult to sort through if a user wants to go back to previous content, and that users struggle to have a continuous conversation with the voice assistant. To address this, we recommend that Google continue to add languages and dialects to the platform as quickly as they are able to, as this will allow more users to take advantage of the platform. We also think that by incorporating a search functionality to the history page, the user will be able to find their past content easier and more efficiently. Lastly, by having Assistant listen to the user for a certain amount of time and then start to listen again, conversations with Assistant can be more fluid, as then the user won't have to press the microphone button each time they want to talk.
Next, I'm going to introduce analysis we did for the usability test. A key feature we tested was the interpreter mode. Across the board, users found it to be an intriguing and helpful feature. However, there were a few issues with it as well. The first issue is users rarely know the existence of the interpreter mode. The second issue is users had to use features that are native to Google Assistant, as well as features from the third-party applications. For example, Google Assistant directly jumped to the YouTube application for language learning video recommendation instead of staying at its main page. And compared to the automatic mode, the manual mode is easier for users to use. The automatic mode is interrupting users while they are still talking, making it difficult to translate fluidly. Based on the findings, we recommend that Google should increase awareness of interpreter mode in both design ways and promotion ways. For example, it can take the form of increasing potential search terms that result in Assistant opening interpreter mode, and also making advertisements so that people will know about this great feature. The automatic interpreter mode could be improved by detecting the voice input more agilely. From the feedback we got regarding the post-test service, there are users who express their preference for Amazon Alexa. Since compared to Google Assistant, they felt Alexa is more humanized when communicating. In other words, some competitor products might understand the user's daily language better. We recommend that Google can improve the language processing algorithm to allow the voice assistant to understand the users more accurately. And then Yinglun will take the discussion part.
For the discussion part, the team has 2 points to address with the clients. The first one is the bias of samples. The team conducted 5 interviews and 5 usability tests with participants who are not covering most of the target users. For the survey, the team got 78 responses, but the feedback is mostly from students, faculty, friends, and family members, which can also lead to a bias of samples. The sample spaces of the studies could result in a bias and influence the conclusion. For further study, we suggest the client to recruit more participants with a more extensive range of native languages, age groups, and experiences. While conducting the research against Google Assistant, we realized that it's a large-scale software. Through our heuristic evaluation and usability tests, there was one task asking the user to start interpreter mode. Sometimes the user has to speak open interpreter mode twice for the software to start interpreter mode rather than give a website introduction. While some users who use keyboard input or click on buttons can finish the task quickly. Thus, the team is hard to make sure that every interaction related to the language learning system is problem-free. We suggested that for further study, the client should include as many interaction ways as possible while doing the tests and get feedback from the users about their way to interact with the system. This is the last part of our study report. Thanks for listening and have a nice day.